The airport gate buzzed with excitement as young Jamal clutched his first-class ticket, a rare treat from his hard-working father. At just 12 years old, his wide eyes sparkled with anticipation for the family vacation ahead. But as he approached the boarding line, a flight attendant's sharp gaze fixed on him, her voice cutting through the chatter. "This isn't your seat, kid." Confusion turned to shame as heads turned, whispers spreading like wildfire. What hidden bias lurked behind her? Words? And how could his father's arrival flip the script entirely? Jamal Harris, a bright-eyed 12-year-old from a bustling urban neighborhood, had always dreamed of flying in style. His father, Marcus, the CEO of a thriving tech firm, had surprised him with first-class tickets for their long-awaited trip to visit relatives overseas. Marcus had risen from humble beginnings, facing countless barriers as a black man in corporate America, and he wanted Jamal to experience the fruits of his labor without the shadows of doubt that had plagued his own youth. The airport terminal was a whirlwind of activity. Families rushing with luggage, announcements echoing overhead, the scent of coffee and pretzels filling the air. Jamal, dressed in his best polo shirt and khakis, felt a surge of pride holding the boarding pass, its gold embossing gleaming under the bright lights. As boarding began, Jamal joined the first-class line, his small frame standing tall among business travelers. The flight attendant, a middle-aged woman with a tight bun and a name tag reading Karen, scanned his ticket with a frown. Her eyes narrowed, lingering on his face longer than necessary. "There's a mistake here," she said, her tone laced with skepticism. She waved him aside, directing him toward the coach section without further explanation. Jamal's heart sank, his cheeks burning as other passengers, mostly white families and executives, boarded seamlessly. He glanced around, noticing how no one else was questioned, their privileges unchecked. The injustice stung, a reminder of the stories his father had shared about being underestimated. Jamal clutched his backpack tighter, fighting back tears, wondering if his skin color was the unspoken reason. Little did he know, Marcus was en route, delayed by traffic, but armed with the influence to expose the quiet discrimination unfolding at the gate. Jamal stood isolated near the gate podium, the terminal's vastness amplifying his vulnerability. The flight attendant's dismissal echoed in his mind, her words a barrier as solid as the velvet rope separating classes. He watched as passengers streamed past, their casual glances carrying judgment, some pitying, others indifferent. Karen busied herself with scans and smiles for others, her efficiency reserved for those who fit her unspoken criteria. Jamal's phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a text from his dad. "Almost there, buddy, hang tight." But time stretched, each minute heightening the boy's unease. A supervisor emerged, summoned by Karen's discreet call, her badge reflecting the harsh fluorescent glow. She reviewed the ticket with a cursory glance, echoing the same vague excuse. "Overbooking in premium. You'll be fine in coach." No alternatives offered, no questions asked of the white family who boarded just before him. Jamal's stomach twisted, the weight of exclusion pressing down. He recalled school lessons on history, segregation, civil rights. But this felt personal, a modern echo in a place meant for equality. His father's success had shielded him somewhat, but here, alone, the veil lifted. As boarding progressed, urgency built. Jamal's spot in first class was given away, the seat now occupied by a late-arriving passenger who matched the attendant's ease. Whispers grew, a nearby traveler murmured about protocol, but Jamal sensed deeper currents. His mind raced to his dad's stories, boardrooms where ideas were dismissed, promotions overlooked due to subtle biases. Was this the world awaiting him? The gate area filled with the hum of engines outside, the plane's shadow looming through the window. Jamal's small hands fidgeted, tears threatening to spill. He pulled out his phone again, typing a quick message to Marcus. "They won't let me in first class." The response was immediate. "On my way. Stay strong." Minutes ticked by, tension coiling like a spring. Karen's radio crackled with final calls, her impatience evident as she urged stragglers. Jamal felt invisible, yet hyper-visible, his presence a disruption in their routine. The supervisor hovered, her apologies hollow, laced with condescension. Deep down, Jamal knew this wasn't about seats. It was about assumptions, about who belonged, where. As the last passengers boarded, a figure appeared in the distance. Marcus, striding purposefully through the terminal, his executive aura cutting through the crowd. The air shifted, the attendant's confidence wavering subtly. What would happen when power met prejudice head-on? Marcus burst through the gate area, his tailored suit and commanding presence drawing immediate attention. Jamal's face lit up with relief as his father approached, but the flight attendant's posture stiffened, her earlier authority cracking under his gaze. Marcus demanded an explanation, his voice steady yet firm, cutting through the excuses like a knife. Karen stammered about overbooking, but Marcus's eyes pierced the facade. He recognized the familiar sting of racial profiling, the kind he'd fought in boardrooms and beyond. With a quick scan of his phone, Marcus pulled up his company's partnership with the airline, his CEO status no longer abstract. He dialed a contact high in the airline's executive chain, the call connecting swiftly. The supervisor's face paled as she overheard snippets. Discrimination. Immediate review. Public relations nightmare. Whispers spread among remaining staff, the gate transforming from routine to reckoning. Jamal stood by his father's side, the boy's small frame bolstered by this pillar of strength. In moments, the tide turned. The airline rep on the line issued overrides, Jamal's seat restored, upgrades for the family, and an on-the-spot apology that rang hollow but necessary. Karen stepped back, her confidence shattered, as boarding halted briefly for the correction. Marcus's arrival wasn't just paternal, it was a force exposing the cracks in a system that defaulted to doubt. The plane waited, its engines a distant roar, as the injustice unraveled before everyone's eyes. As the plane lifted off, Jamal settled into his rightful first-class seat, the luxury a stark contrast to the earlier humiliation. Marcus sat beside him, his hand on the boy's shoulder, a silent promise of protection in an imperfect world. The incident faded into the clouds below, but its echoes lingered. By the time they landed, Marcus had filed a formal complaint, sparking an internal investigation that revealed patterns of bias in staff training. The airline issued a public statement pledging reforms and diversity initiatives, though such promises often proved fleeting without sustained pressure. Jamal's story spread quietly at first, shared in family chats, then online forums, igniting discussions about everyday racism faced by black children. Parents recounted similar tales, denied services, questioned in stores, overlooked in schools. The viral ripple highlighted how privilege could shield, but not erase, systemic flaws. Marcus used his platform to advocate, speaking at conferences about raising resilient kids in a biased society. Jamal, once shaken, emerged stronger, his innocence tempered by awareness, vowing to pay forward the lessons learned. Yet, the resolution carried bittersweet notes. Not every child had a CEO dad to intervene. Many endured in silence, their stories untold. This tale, inspired by real events, underscored the need for vigilance. How many gates, literal and figurative, bar entry based on skin alone? In a world quick to judge, one arrival can shift narratives, but true change demands collective action. What if we all arrived ready to turn the tables on injustice? Reflect on this. When bias boots someone down, will you be the one to lift them up?